Hello, viewer, subscriber, member, or other acolyte of electron emancipation. I knew this sort of thing might happen, and now it has happened, and I have to do something about it. People have decided to send me stuff and ask me to do things. What is that stuff? What are those things? Well, products are the stuff, and reviews are the things. But wait, before you think I'm going down the dark path to flavorless robotic reviews of the same things over and over, I want to issue the following promises to my viewers. Number 1, honesty. I will not lie in any way about a product or service. I will not pretend that I use a product or service unless I do, in which case it's no longer pretending. If I do not like a thing, you will know and you will know why. If I like a thing, you will know and you will know why. Number 2, there will be flair. Probably not 37 pieces, but there will be some. I will likely find something unusual to do with, or to, the devices I review when I do them. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive into the first official product review I've been asked by a company to do. I am not being paid for this review, nor do I have any binding agreement that prohibits me from full disclosure of my findings or opinions to my audience. The only compensation I'm receiving for this video is the item or items I am being asked to review. In the spirit of all great inquiry, I will have a set of criteria that measures all devices equally. There are 8 categories I'll grade. Each category has a weighted value so that a good user manual doesn't give a fire hazard a higher mark than it should. The categories are packaging, user manual quality, device appearance, exterior build quality, interior build quality, safety, security, and cloudless capability, which can substantially offset a lack in some of the others. Let's see how the Eightree Smart Plug stacks up. I've historically had a bad relationship with all but one smart plug. These devices are notoriously flimsy, often a security risk, and sometimes even dangerous. Bearing this in mind, I have been asked to review this one. I was sent a 4-pack, which at the time of writing was priced at $29.99 on Amazon, which is good because of the very bad ways I treated one of them. You'll get to see that later. I will definitely be taking the price into consideration since the 4-pack is only about $10 more than a single Shelly plug or $8 more than a 2-pack of Sonoff S31 plugs. Unlike a comic book, I'd like to talk about true origins. This device was manufactured by a company called Shenzhen Railway Limited Company, although that name is not printed on the device itself. It is printed on the box and manual, but not on the device. Instead, there's just a little logo that says Eitree on one spot on the box, a single mention in the Dear Valued Customer page of the manual along with an email, and the logo on the top of the device itself. Before it was called Eitree, it was called Elalink, and I'm guessing there are quite a few variations floating around. This particular incarnation is the ET10. There are about a dozen other models whose circuitry and certifiability are identical. The reason I know this, and why I mention certification, is that I did a search on the FCC's website for the filing for this device, and Eitree attests that a list of about a dozen device models are identical in form and function. This one is relatively small width-wise compared to most, while still being about as thick as they usually are. Not something I'll count against them, just an observation. I don't think it's especially appealing in any specific way, but because it's not very wide and it isn't ugly otherwise, I give it a B for appearance. The packaging the plugs came in is somewhere between cardboard and paper. They're really plain, not very visually grabbing, but functional and informative, so I give it a C. The user manual is small and a little hard to read because of its size, but it does tell you everything you need to know, so I give it a B. I originally planned to simply show the images of the internal circuitry from the FCC filing, but they weren't great pictures and I wanted to see if there was any deviation, so I tore one apart. It got very interesting rather quickly. In fact, it got interesting the moment I started trying to break into the device physically. The shell of this device is so pressed tight, the only way I could hope to open it was with a drill. So given that it's a smaller smart plug and the case required Ocean's 11 to open it, I give exterior build quality a solid A, which I was not expecting. On boring into the side of the device with great care and finesse, I drilled directly into the side of one of the device's electrolytic capacitors. Electrolytic capacitors do not normally like being drilled into, and this one was no exception. Having already rendered the device useless, I stopped using any care or finesse at all. So far as I could tell, the component configuration and chip were as described and photographed for the FCC filing. I was surprised to find that the PCB wasn't nearly as flimsy as I'd originally suspected. It's not something you'd find in a higher-end device, but it isn't going to readily snap in half or catch fire. You'd need to do that manually. The basic components, ignoring sparsity for the moment, are all okay so far as I can tell. The Toyo development package that drives this thing is a CB2S-J, which is okay. Not groundbreaking in any way, but it's a decent little doodad. However, given the lack of extra effort in the filtering department, I give the interior build quality a C. Average. Fun fact, according to Toyo's own documentation, you could use the CB2S-J for a smart bus. In addition to the minimalist board, I'm guessing the way these leads go into the plastic, across and to the prongs, is likely due to the points being where the pins would solder if it were in another country. I don't think the bit of metal that makes up that detour for the solder leads would actually handle the rated max current, but I could be wrong. It still feels like a weak point. On that basis, I'm going to go ahead and give safety a C. Average. Certainly not dangerous if you stay below the 80% of the device's maxed rating. Connecting to the device is pretty straightforward through the Smart Life app, if a little daunting at times. There's a weird child lock feature which generates many questions in my head, but it works and I guess would prevent the child from turning the socket on and off via the button. There's one thing that I so far don't mind about all the Toyo-based devices I've seen personally. The initial connection and setup via Bluetooth instead of Wi-Fi. I'm not sure how easy it would be to pick up the signal and decode it, but since it's Bluetooth, I think they'd have to be close enough for me to smell them anyway. I give their security a B. I would give them an A, but I don't know where the information from the device is going, which brings me to the next category, cloudless compatibility. Of course, Toyo devices are dependent on the Smart Life app and therefore third-party servers. Not my favorite thing. There are alternate firmware packages for many of the Toyo devices, and they can even be installed over the air as I understand it. I have not done this because I am giving the remaining functional devices to my son for his setup, and he'll use the app. It will be a good way for us to see how that setup performs over time for future videos. I will give the device a D for cloudless, since it can be beaten into submission, but no higher because it shouldn't have to be. Now let's go over the grades. For packaging, C. For user manual quality, B. For appearance, B. For exterior build quality, A. For interior build quality, C. For safety, C. For security, B. And finally, for cloudless compatibility, D. Bringing the final grade to a C. Average. Probably won't kill you, might be collecting information on you and sending it to some random server, and does what it's told to do if you ignore the previous flaws. If you'd like to pick a pack of portable plugs, I'll link to them in the description. If you found this video to be informative, entertaining, or at least not the news, let YouTube know by getting just a little more carpal tunnel in support of the channel and click like or consider subscribing. If you're brave, noble, or loose with your money, consider becoming a member. There's stuff sometimes, and you can be in special channels on the Discord, as well as joining these fine folks who've been incredibly supportive of the channel and all have absolutely perfect hair and teeth. I do hope you'll join me for future videos as I continue building and exploring smarter circuits.